false flag to justify the mass bombing of the Middle East. They're getting things in place, Doc. They're going to rewrite the Middle East. That's the plan. The greater Israel. So you're getting ready to introduce...
Yes, this is when Secretary Blinken and Prime Minister Netanyahu first met. And unfortunately, if you're listening on ShortWave or just listening on your app, you won't get the whole interchange of this, but it's almost saccharine in their greeting.
Well, they're tribal members.
We're here, we're not going anywhere. Sorry, it's under the search status. We're here, we're not going anywhere.
We're here, we're not going anywhere.
That's right. We're committed to this.
And Netanyahu said, of course you're not going anywhere. We own you. Where would you go? We've got dirt on every politician in America. What do you think Jeffrey Epstein was doing? Of course you're not going anywhere. Several days ago, some top-level officials in Egypt said Egyptian intelligence warned Israel that Hamas was going to launch an attack, and they ignored the warnings. Today, Congressman Michael McCall, who is a warmonger, he's definitely a deep state guy, but he confirmed it. He said, yeah, they were warned.
Don't know how we missed it, Rick.
Yeah, one of those dot connector machines wasn't working. This was some video from C-SPAN.
We heard from the administration. There seems to have been a failure of intelligence as well. We're not quite sure how we missed it. We're not quite sure how Israel missed it. We know that Egypt had warned the Israelis 3 days prior that an event like this could happen. We know that this had been planned perhaps as long as a year ago.
Maybe they wanted it to happen. Maybe Hamas stepped into a trap and had no idea that the Israelis knew all about it and were waiting. Let it happen. Now you can justify genocide.
Yes.
Because that's what's playing out right now. Reuters, NATO ministers shown horrific video from Hamas attack. So Israel is now courting NATO. I don't think Israel is a member of NATO.
Well, they do have an associate office.
They have a junior associate membership. So they're showing all the NATO ministers throughout Europe and the United States and Canada, hey, here's the video. Look, NATO, you might have to get involved in this fight. That's where they're going.
Oh, yes.
Folks, when you see this, they're going to expand. Look, NATO's done with Zelensky. They lost the war. Zelensky's old news. He's washed up. It's over.
Yeah.
I said this a long time ago. They're going to move the war to the Middle East and bring Putin. They're going to bait Putin to come into the Middle East.
Even Kirby yesterday was saying that the funding for Ukraine has come to the end of its rope.
He did?
Yes.
But they got a lot of money for Israel right now.
Yes.
Another one I saw today, this is Breitbart. Hamas leader calls for global day of jihad on Friday the 13th, so that's tomorrow. And it says a former Hamas chief has called for protests to take place across the Muslim world on Friday in support of the Palestinians and for the people of neighboring countries to join the fight against Israel. And Khalid Mashal said we must head to the squares and the streets of the Arab and Islamic world on Friday. And he said he made the statement from Qatar. He said, tribes of Jordan, sons of Jordan, brothers and sisters of Jordan, this is a moment of truth and the borders are close to you. You all know your responsibility. He's speaking to the 2 million Palestinian refugees that live in Jordan.
Yes.
And I don't know where on this sheet, do we have the video from Jordan? the protest. This was sent to me. This happened a couple days ago. I don't know if we got it. There was a mass protest in Amman several days ago in the evening. To me, it looked like a couple 100,000 people in the streets. So there is a groundswell taking place in the Arab world, and you can be sure that the leaders of each of these Islamic countries are feeling the pressure from their people,
right,
saying, how long are you going to allow Israel to kill the Palestinians? So I've not seen whether there have been large protests in other countries, but there was one.
I think we've got it.
Do we have it?
So
okay, this is Amman, Jordan, about 2 nights ago. Let's watch. We don't have it? Okay.
All right.
Move on. Oh, there we go. There. Look at that. Look at that, Doc. That's a spontaneous rally that filled up the streets of Amman.
Wow. And the streets in Amman, they're wide,
yes.
Really wide. So it's hard to even get a grasp of just how many people are here. That's really amazing there, the number of people that have turned out for...
So King Abdullah is the direct descendant of Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad. He is the direct descendant. If you saw a genealogy chart, it goes straight down to King Abdullah. And he's the moderate, peaceful Islamic leader. That's his country right there. People demanding, do something. Do something, King Abdullah. What happens if King Abdullah, the direct descendant of Muhammad, issues a call to every Muslim to fight for the Palestinians? What happens?
Well, we've got a real mess in the Middle East then.
What happens if the Israelis start attacking the Temple Mount in Jerusalem?
I halfway expect that to happen
Yes.
this weekend.
I know, things are going to get really, really, really crazy. What happens when the 2 million Palestinians in Palestine, occupied by the Israelis, they've been disarmed? I mean, the Israelis believe in gun control. I mean, almost all gun control movements are pushed by Zionists, including here in the United States.
Sure.
So the Palestinians are disarmed, but what if they just pick up swords and knives and start killing Zionist settlers who have taken their land? What happens if 2 million people pick up knives and swords? How does the Israeli military put this down?
And let's assume you're also getting attacks from Hamas and Hezbollah at the same time.
I want to go into this beheading story. So let's drop down to number 46. This story has been making its rounds. Babies and toddlers were found with heads decapitated, Netanyahu spokesperson says.
Now, this story's been developing over a couple days. It originally came out, 2 days ago on the 10th. CNN picked it up yesterday and printed this. But there's been a lot of question and a lot of controversy about this particular story and about the sourcing of it. It started with a report by an I-24 reporter. I-24 is a news outlet from Israel. And what was going on is one of the kibbutzes had apparently been struck by Hamas. And then the IDF brought in a whole bunch of journalists for a walkthrough afterwards to show, here's some dead terrorists over here, here's other bodies over here. And well, I'll just play the original report. This is by I-24's Nicole Zedek. And listen to what she says here in this particular report. And this is where the controversy
This
started.
is the original report.
This is the original report.
Because they want us to see exactly what's happening and what they've been witnessing with their own eyes for these past 3 days. Many of them coming here Saturday night, and they knew that no other soldiers had been here yet, and so they kind of knew an idea of what was happening, but no one could expect that it would be like this. The horrors that I'm hearing from these soldiers, as I mentioned earlier, about 40 babies, at least, were taken out on gurneys. Still, right now, they're going house to house, still evacuating dead bodies, killed Israeli citizens.
Now, from her reporting, she implied that she saw 40 dead babies, beheaded babies, and on top of that. This was back 2 days ago. Now, other media outlets picked that story up. They started repeating that. But then there were questions about, well, where are these babies? Where are they? Why are there no pictures or videos of them or anything like that? She had an appearance on Buck Sexton's radio show where she...
Former CIA agent.
Right, where she tried to make an explanation for this. This was actually late yesterday. So we'll play that clip here for her explanation of this and why people are questioning her. So listen to this.
Sickening, really, that people are asking, where are the babies? Why aren't you showing the babies? Is that something that anyone would want to see, first thing, with their own eyes? Because after the graphic images that I saw of just children dead, covered in blood, I don't think I would be able to stomach those atrocities as well. And I think if people actually listen to the full clips, because a lot of times people are using just cuts from the different clips, so 40 babies, 40 children were carried out on gurneys. 40 dead children were found. And a lot of people are saying, babies, 40 babies. Well, how does she know that number? How old are they? And I think that is really, the fact that people are focusing on that doesn't matter if they're 3 months old or 3 years old. 6 months old, 6 years old. A 6-year-old is someone's baby. So the fact that people are still questioning this, and after we have a clip I have on air also, we have these soldiers confirming what they've seen of the mutilation of these children.
All right, now, but her original story was she saw the beheaded babies. She did. Now, she's backtracked on this. She's backtracked saying she was told.
No, she said she saw them.
Well, but she backtracked on Twitter by saying she was told by an IDF soldier that there were 40 beheaded babies. Well, and this is the tweet here. And I don't know if we're going to get to do the Biden spot here or not, because President Biden said he saw beheaded babies.
We got a few minutes in the next hour, right?
Yes.
Because we're going to have our Morning Manna Bible study coming up, but I think we have about 10 minutes or so.
Yes.
To continue with the discussion of news. So, so Joe Biden said he saw the babies.
Yes.
And then the White House said, well, not really.
Yes.
And so everyone who says that they saw them then comes back a day later and says, well, I didn't really say I saw them.
Except you did.
Could it be propaganda? Could this be Israeli Mossad propaganda to whip up hatred and anger to justify the mass extermination of 2.5 million Palestinians in Gaza? I think it is. Don't fall for the propaganda. We're going to take a short break for station identification. You're watching True News. I'll be back in just 30 seconds.
WWCR, Nashville, Tennessee, USA.
Who's going to be the first platform to deplatform us?
Oh. I'm not going to take any bets on it.
All right.
It's kind of early. So let's give a couple more days of Gaza coverage and to really get people stirred up. And so, but you know, there are already people deplatforming me for friendship.
Personal friends?
Yes.
Really?
That I've known for decades.
No kidding.
They said, they saw me on True News and they said, why are you against Israel? Why do you hate Israel so much? Did I ever say I hated Israel?
You never said you hated Israel?
I never said that. I just don't want to see Palestinians.
You just don't worship Zionism.
Right, now I did say that.
And you're not drinking at the Zionist Kool-Aid dispensary.
So, but yeah, I mean, this is an issue. I think this is going to be an issue that really is going to separate the sheep from the goats, to use a biblical parallel here. You're going to have to make a decision where you stand on this particular issue.
Yeah, hey, Pastor Chuck Baldwin is going to be with us tomorrow for a full hour.
Yes.
Don't miss tomorrow's program. Pastor Chuck Baldwin, 1 hour on True News tomorrow. So Joe Biden said he saw beheaded babies. And Don't take my word for it. Let Joe tell you himself. Here it is, compliments of NBC News.
A campaign of pure cruelty. I just hate pure cruelty. I've been doing this a long time. I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children.
So he said he saw that, right?
He said, I never thought I'd see. And then he quickly changed and said, have confirmed.
Right.
Which one was it? See or confirmed? Well, let's go down to, this is slightly out of order, guys. I wanted to jump down to 52 NBC News. White House clarifies Biden's claim he saw photos of terrorists beheading children.
So reporters started asking, all right, where did you see these photos or videos? Or you saw something, right? You said you saw. So the White House did not immediately, you can always tell this, the White House did not immediately respond to a request for further details about Biden's remarks. Two senior administration officials said Biden was referring to reports from Israel about beheaded children and cited several media reports of beheadings. So NBC News, now listen to this, has not confirmed those reports, and an IDF spokesperson, Major Doran Spielman, told NBC News, that specific report and that number I can't confirm. But Joe Biden said he saw it.
Somebody showed it to him. And Doc, I wouldn't be surprised that a Mossad agent was in the White House and showed him doctored photographs.
Right. And then CNN reports this as well. This is today. Israeli official says government cannot confirm babies were beheaded in Hamas attack.
But Bibi Netanyahu told the whole world that they were beheaded.
Yes, and Joe Biden saw the beheaded babies. This is an incubator story. Remember the story about the incubators?
Oh, yes. President Assad was gassing children in the incubators.
Yes.
Same propagandists.
Now, I don't deny that there are people that got killed, okay? But when you hear stories like this that roll out...
Okay, Doc, here's something, and I don't know if the videos are still out there. I didn't save them because when this stuff started happening on Saturday, I was working on Bible lessons, and I just didn't feel like working on more. Okay, and I wish I would have grabbed some stuff. But I saw videos on Saturday of so-called Hamas terrorists over on the Israeli side, and they were leading women out of homes and putting them into golf carts.
Yes.
And there was one that was an elderly woman, and these Hamas guys were, respectfully escorting her out to the golf cart. And she was smiling. She got in the golf cart and she's smiling. And I'm thinking, there's something not right about this video. If she's being kidnapped, why are they not dragging her out by her hair? Why is she smiling? There's something weird about this video. Then the other one I saw very dark-skinned, very black kidnappers. Terrorists. Those supposed to be terrorists. They were very, very black. They were African. Very dark-skinned. Well, you and I have been to the Middle East, and Arabs aren't dark-skinned. They're dark-skinned, but they're not black. They're not African. They're not North African. They're dark-skinned. But these men were clearly Africans. And I'm thinking, well, when did Palestinians become so African-looking?
Right.
Who are these people? Did you have a thought on anything that you wanted to say? We got a minute.
Only that the thing that have really intrigued me was the music festival. I have not seen any videos of bodies at the music festival. I have seen videos of tanks and IDF soldiers that were at the music festival that day firing at supposed terrorists, but firing across the crowd.
Kind of like mass shootings in the United States. You hold that it happens, but you never see funerals. You don't see anything. You're just told it happened. And if you question it, you're going to be shut down.
Right.
You just have to believe. A couple things really quick here. Number 56, Zelensky in Romania for security talks with the president of Romania. This happened a couple days ago. And then the next one, Hindustan Times out of India. Zelensky left red-faced as speech in a NATO nation parliament was canceled. He was not allowed to speak to the Romanian parliament, and he left embarrassed and humiliated, and this was being reported in India. It's over for Zelensky. His gig is up. It's time to retire. Take all that money that you siphoned off of U.S. aid and go retire somewhere and make pornographic comedy videos again and go back to doing what you were doing before. Hey, we're going to take a break. And this is an announcement from our good friends, Genesis Gold Group.
Are you concerned about this economic storm and how your IRA and 401k will fare during these turbulent times? Top experts are predicting now is the time to be protecting your assets with physical gold and silver. Find out why Genesis Gold Group is the #1 recommended company by your favorite preppers and homestead channels. Receive Genesis Gold Group's free definitive gold guide today, or give them a call at 800-200-GOLD.
We are in the book of Acts, and let's see, Doc, this is chapter 14, right?
Sir,
so,
starting chapter 14 today.
14 verses 1 through 7.
Okay.
Let's pray. Our wonderful, precious Holy Father, we pray in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. We thank you for this day, Father, that we are alive. We are blessed, and we are under your care. Father, we can't begin this day without thinking about those who are in great peril and trouble this very hour. Many of them are brothers and sisters in Christ in Gaza. Father, have mercy on them. Have mercy on them. Father, I am waiting and I am desiring the return of our Lord Jesus Christ. This old earth is stained with blood. Give us a new earth, Father. Give us a new earth, and bring your Son Jesus to rule as King over the new earth forever. We ask for the presence of the Holy Spirit today to learn from your precious word in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, so I'll read our passage today, and we're in Acts chapter 14, and today we'll be looking at verses 1 through 7. I'm reading from the King James Version. And it came to pass in Iconium that they went both together into the synagogue of the Jews, and so spake, that a great multitude...
printing money to give to the Ukrainian government. They needed something else that has been traditionally on world stages of conflict. So you need to have this. If you're a globalist with eyes towards taking power away from sovereign nations, like the United States, then and especially when it comes to the money regime, when it comes to world reserve currency and things like that, you need this chaos in the Middle East, because it is this is no pun intended, it's the mecca of the oil industry, which still today is the big motivator for many countries around the world, the price of oil. So if you can choke that down, and we've already seen that the production is down, costs are up, you affect the economy around the world, and that chaos starts to take hold.
Now, let's kind of pause right there, because you were talking about oil. Then on the one hand, you have all this strange talk here in the United States about going green, and between windmills and solar and elimination of, cows, we can save the planet and never burn a fossil fuel again. And we have these unrealistic goals that I know can never realistically be reached, but you have indoctrinated a lot of people under the age of, let's say, 40 to actually believe that lie. You've had decades of public indoctrination, which we used to call education. And so we now have people that believe we can really just go green. It's really that simple. We just build a few more windmills and everybody gets an EV, and everybody will then, just have a happy time living in our 15-minute city because we don't really have to go anywhere anymore. We've got the metaverse. We have electric cars. We have windmills. And we have, cricket meal to make our snacks. I mean, this is the world that we're trying to, the elites are trying to throw the West into. The Middle East, China, Russia, Brazil and India, they're more than happy to burn all the fossil fuel we don't want to touch and maintain their integrity, their industries, and their economy. So how do you think all that's going to work for us here in the United States?
Well, first and foremost, I'm not anti-green, but I truly believe in my heart of hearts it is way premature to say that we should go with green energy and replace fossil fuel. It's got to be an all-of-the-above type of thing. So that being said, with regards to the Middle East, the policies here in the United States are what are going to be hindering us, not so much our relationship with Saudi Arabia or Iran or any of the other oil-producing nations over there. We've got the biggest fossil fuel supply in the world in the United States. We just refuse to use it. Mm-hmm. We found that out under Trump, when we had the lowest energy prices in the world. So now we've got this.
We were net exporters.
Right, and that's not just for oil. That was for natural gas, the whole gambit. So with what's happening in the Middle East and our administration, because they are anti-fossil fuel and pro-green, and as an aside, they're pro-green because that's what helps line the pockets of their benefactors in the political world here in the United States. Oh, yeah. It has no bearing on whether they truly believe this is the way of the world.
How many, here's a good question. How many green projects have been successful and how many green projects, well-funded, have vanished off the face of the earth, money included?
Well, this goes back to Solyndra. Billions of dollars for nothing. It's a wing and a prayer and a hope. Yes, we can develop this. If they were serious about this, they'd be looking at hydrocells. Mm-hmm. But they're not. Israel's got an airplane that runs on a hydrocell. So the model is there.
It can be done.
It can be done, but we're not developing that over here. We're looking for lithium battery vehicles, and if anybody has ever seen a picture of a lithium minefield, it's 900 times worse than a fossil fuel derrick.
And it also has a tendency to use slave labor, a lot of child labor, and a lot of kids die at a very, very young age from working in them. But it makes us more green, and that's all that people care about.
Yeah, and that's because we live in a first world country where people usually only read the headlines and maybe half of the first paragraph. They refuse to take the time to drill down into a subject, to examine it, find out the pros and cons, the counterpoints and the points, and make up their own mind on these things. They just hear the bumper sticker. It's got to be green. Okay, then we have to be green. This goes back to the 70s with the ecology movement.
And how green is green? There's the next problem, and it's not as green as people are being led to believe.
It's as green as money.
Yeah, that's about it. And also I remember something I had when I was in high school. A very good teacher that I had twice. I had him in my sophomore and my senior year. And he opened my eyes at that point. Now remember, Earth Day had occurred, held a few years before, I think, and I remember it well. We're going to have all these landfills, and the world's going to freeze over because of, global cooling that's being caused by man, and all the energy crisis, and we're running out of oil. And I remember, and I've heard this since from a handful of reputable people who, when looking at a textbook that had used the term in the 1970s fossil fuel, he said, there is no such thing as fossil fuel. And we look at him, what do you mean there's no such thing? He goes, that's a theory from the 1700s from Russian scientists because oil was found near the surface of the earth. Nobody in the 1700s knew you had to drill thousands of feet down to find the stuff. And his point was, these are not dead dinosaurs. This is something the earth is producing and pushing toward the surface. Well, we still are talking about Dino the dinosaur and being, what was that, gasoline? Sinclair gas. That was gasoline. Right. That was their mascot. And they wanted people to say that it was in short supply, high demand, keep the price. I mean, it's always been about marketing and keeping the price up. And so you have Dino the dinosaur was your source for Sinclair gasoline, and it really is not true. But we have all these, we end up, all of us, using that term because we've been hit with it for, in my case, 60 plus years.
It's what we've come to understand. It's what we've come to call it. It's like calling a progressive in politics, in using that term. There's nothing progressive about the progressive ideology. It's regressive towards totalitarianism. It wants to predate what our founders did when they said natural law rights create the ultimate freedom. So there's nothing progressive about the progressive movement. It's going backwards. But that's what we've come to. That's what we've come to call it. It's not accurate, but it's what we've come to call it.
And I was corrected about, a few years ago. Somebody pointed out that a lot of people use the term liberal. Yeah, these liberals in D.C. The truth is they're not liberals by the traditional standard of a liberal. These liberals are leftist. There's a big difference. Extreme leftist, big government, big tax, big control. And the old classic liberal was about freedom of speech and equality, which this is not. There is no such thing as real equality anymore. They're just putting their thumb on a different side of the scale.
Right. It's when we start getting into the idea of politics, and there's a great video that's been around for a long time about it. You can find it just by looking at conservative versus liberal. When you think of conservatism or the right side of the aisle, that is with no government whatsoever. It's absolute freedom. When you think of liberal in the contemporary definition, it is total government.
That's right.
So we as the United States, we exist in the middle somewhere.
Or supposed to.
Or we're supposed to, but we've been taking a great trek to the left. And this is what I call them neo-fascists, because that's what they are by definition. If you look at the definition of fascism, today's quote-unquote liberals or progressives are using private sector companies to force through where they can't legislate, through wokeism, ESG stuff, things like that.
And you're finding a lot of what are called establishment Republicans, which are really, they're just part of a government system, and they just know how to play the game of loyal opposition on cue.
Yeah, and it's when it's their turn to lead, the party out of power does the same thing, and that's why people are using the term uniparty. So other people say the swamp or bureaucracy or whatever.
It's the uniparty. I mean, there's no look. You're going to tell me that people like Lindsey Graham are really conservative?
No.
John McCain, Mitt Romney. I mean, these people are about as corporate and single-party minded. Who are some of Lindsey Graham's great friends? A bunch of Democrat ultra-leftists that he got along with and played in the same sandpile just fine.
Yeah, that's one reason why I wrote my book Nullification, was to, we can get away from the bureaucracy in Washington if state governments would take back control that they have been granted underneath the Constitution. Nullification is something that was debated in the Federalist and Anti-Federalist papers, and it's nothing that has ever been adjudicated not available to the states. They've just moved away from it because there's more money to be made off K Street if you concentrate government power into a centralized government in Washington.
Instead of 50.
Instead of 50. It would take every company lobbying the federal government would have to, times 50 now. You're going to have to go to every state capital to do the same thing. It's not cost effective. So you get a lot more freedom, a lot more control at the state level, which means that you have government that actually understands the region in which you live, the people in the region in which you live, and it serves you better. Circling all the way back to the Middle East, when you talk about these money brokers who need this chaos on the globe in order to change things, all they're doing is making sure that central government moves from Washington to Davos.
Mm-hmm. And then they can do it on a global scale instead of just one major nation at a time.
Yeah, and so when we see chaos like this pop up out of nowhere, now granted, devout Islamo-fascists hate the Jewish state. And
Christians and the United States.
Well,
anybody that's not them.
You know what? And I always found this to be very interesting. They hate the same people that the Nazis were exterminating.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So you can't look at them like the UN tries to do and say, boy, we must sit down as equals and talk about this. Well, yeah, I'll sit down and talk with you as soon as you disavow your founding texts that say your religion must dominate the world and everybody else is subservient.
I ran into something, and I shared it a few days ago. And this is a list when we hear about Palestine and how the Jewish people in 1948 took over the land of the Palestinians. And I did a little bit. There's someone that did a great job in historical research, and if you look it up one little piece at a time, it's very accurate. There never has been a nation of Palestine as they claim that there was. Mm-hmm. There was a region named by the Roman Empire called Palestine, which is pretty much the entire Middle East. Everything in the Middle East was called Palestine. And if you were a screw up in the, shall we say, Roman army, that's where you ended up, in Palestine. Or if you were a not so great politician in Rome, you might be, well, Pontius Pilate must have got somebody ticked off to be sent off to Palestine and to Jerusalem. This is what people don't understand about what that is. You can look at every empire, every nation, going back from today all the way back to almost prehistoric times, and who, right through the Jewish nations, the divided Jewish nation, the unified Jewish nation, under Abraham, you can see everybody, including the Ottoman Empire, all of it, but there's no nation of Palestine. There's no Palestinian government. This is a construct of the 20th century.
Yeah, when you look at just the word Palestine is derived from the word Philistine, which was what the Romans used for people who were nomadic beggars. They had no nation. They were Philistines, and then they did not want them in Roman Empire proper. So they pushed them off. They pushed them to the edges, which was what they thought was useless land in the Middle East. So it's a bastardized definition of where the term Palestine came from. Mm-hmm. And then when you look at the majority of the Middle East, which is majority Muslim, it's majority Muslim. When you look at their longevity as opposed to the Jewish longevity, especially where Jerusalem is concerned, Islam was not around prior to the year 600.
That's right.
And the Torah goes back 2,000, 3,000 years.
Over 3,000. And so there's a 3,000-year history, and there's barely a 1,400-year history. And even then, it wasn't as great of an empire for the next 400 to 500 years. It took literally to the year 1000 to become more powerful.
Right, and it's predicated, when you look at the second half of Mahalath, it's predicated on conquest.
And the ability to rape, pillage, plunder, and steal.
You know, and one of the things that and I always kind of cock my head like a dog hearing a high-pitched tone whenever I see women defending the Islamic culture, because in the Islamic culture they're nothing but chattel.
I saw an interesting picture. And of course, it comes from a college campus here in the United States. Where else? And you got a bunch of college students, and they have their tattoos and their face piercings and everything going on, their multicolored hair, and they're holding up a big sign, queers for Palestine, queers for Hamas.
Just insane.
And they don't realize that if Hamas could ever get a hold of them being queer or being trans, they would dump them on their head from the top of a 10-story building.
Yeah, in Iran, even if you're suspected of it, you're executed.
But they're all about it, because then this is a bit of a theological thing I want to mention. You take a nation like Israel, and it is a dichotomy of two nations, if you look in terms of people, more than any politics. It is a minority of the population. Now, look, Israel observes the Jewish holidays. It runs off the Jewish calendar. It is definitely, quote, the Jewish state. But a tremendous number of the people in Israel are true Orthodox Jewish people. They're Jewish in culture and name only. And they enjoy the power and the prestige of being in a nation like Israel. You got to remember, Yuval Noah Harari, who's one of the great advisors to the World Economic Forum. He teaches at Jerusalem University, and he lives in Israel, and he's gay, and he's married to another man. But, and he's not a believer in any God at all. And so there's a tremendous number of those living in Israel. And they actually make up probably close to the majority of the population. But it's still, from a biblical point of view, as I tell people on the church side, it's still the promised land that God gave eternally. Even though those that live in the land can be like their forefathers and attacked, kicked off the land, enslaved. That has happened countless times over the last 3,000 years that I know of. And so none of that's ever changed. And here we are today. It's just on a more modern scale with technology.
Well, it's the latest surge. It's the latest surge. I mean, what do you do when you conquer a land? You bring in your own culture. So what did the Muslims do when they actually took over Jerusalem? They built a mosque on top of a holy site to try to erase that history from the face of the earth. Well, the Jewish people were not going to have it. So this conflict is going to go on for all time. How violent and how bloody is it going to be? That's always going to be the question moving forward. Right now, when you shoot 5,000 rockets raining down on citizens, not military installations, but citizens, you've got no respect for life. And when you're dealing with a foe that has no respect for life, whether it's Islamofascists who believe if they die, they go to eternal paradise, or the communist Chinese who don't believe in any afterlife at all and only government, you've got a hell of a foe there, because they're not afraid to die.
Well, Frank, I'm going to ask you to hold on for just a moment. We have a break coming up, and I want to bring you back on the other side to discuss a number of other very critical issues we face in our nation, in the United States, in Canada, really in the entire Western Hemisphere. There are a lot of things that need to be discussed, and I hope that the audience will stick around as well. Before we go to this break, I want to just share a couple of things. I'm excited about being on WTWW now, and at the moment, and the schedule may change a little bit over the weeks. I'm aware of a few technical issues on their end, not mine, and we're going to help them in getting them resolved. But we're on the air on WTWW at 9 and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. 9 and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That may change a little bit. And the hours on WTWW for this and other light-minded programming may be expanding very soon. This is something I've been trying to help coordinate in the background to see this facility come alive again. And so I need your prayers, really, your prayers right now, and your financial support to expand this particular radio voice. Now, we are still on WRMI. This has been the first station and will always be an outlet for Truth to Ponder. My relationship and my friendship and my admiration of WRMI is very, very high. And I've spent a lot of time there, actually doing some technical work over the years. So WRMI is dear to my heart. But I'm thankful for this additional outlet that reaches places maybe we can't reach on WRMI currently. And we're also seeking to add potentially a daytime frequency that can also reach a good portion of North America and even Europe. So keep that in your prayers. A lot going on. If you've never supported this ministry before, we really need to hear from you. Here we are. It's almost the middle of October, and it's been a slow month again. And I understand the economics. People are writing me saying it's not easy to give, Bob, and I understand it. I'm there with you myself. But if you can, go to our website, truth2ponder.com. Truth2ponder.com. We use Give, Send, Go. Give, Send, Go, a Christian organization for online fundraising, or make a check money order payable to Ancient Word Radio, Post Office Box 510. That's Post Office Box 510. Chilhowie, 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 Virginia 24319, P.O. Box 510, Chilhowie, Virginia 24319.
This is Truth to Ponder with Bob Bierman,
the Redeemer in Disguise. Shalom Alechem. This is the nice Jewish boy, Jonathan Kahn, your Jewish connection, bringing you the riches of your Jewish roots in Jesus. Now get your pen out as fast as you can so you don't miss out on receiving a special free gift you're going to get in a moment. The story of Ruth. She's in the fields, and she's an outcast, and she stumbles onto the field of Boaz. Boaz meets her, they speak, but she has no idea that this man is going to be the redemption of her life. A beautiful moment. Ruth is having the most hard time. She's in humiliating circumstances, gleaning the fields as a foreigner, yet she doesn't see the real story is beautiful and awesome. There's a blessing waiting for her, and it's right there, but she can't yet see it. The Redeemer is right there, but hidden from her heart. But God already had the answer before she sees it. So we do. Even in your hardest times, your lowest times, the most beautiful things are happening. When you look back, you saw that God had the answer already waiting for you. You didn't see it, but it was right there. People are blessed with great testimonies. People rejoice with them. But what makes these testimonies so beautiful is that when it seems that there was nothing there, God was there. When it seems so hopeless, God was right there. God's beautiful flowers are sown in darkness. When you don't feel anything, it's beautiful when you bless him anyway, because he's there. Learn to start thanking God now before you see the answer. Thank him. Rejoice that it's there, and you'll see it. You see, in your darkest times, Boaz is right around the corner. Right there, the Redeemer is waiting. Messiah in disguise, right there in your midst, waiting for you to rejoice and give God the glory before you see it. Want more? Ask for Boaz on CD. Now, what if you could receive daily vitamins guaranteed to strengthen your spiritual walk with God? A 6-month supply for free. Well, you can with Sapphire's daily spiritual vitamins for victorious walk and updates on Israel and prophecy and world events, the incredible mystery of the temple door.
And it's International Face Your Fears Day. So man up. Your mother-in-law's staying for a week. I heat up. I can't cool down. Got me spinning round and round. Round and round and round it goes.
information around the world for very little. The ShortWave Radio from...
And it also caused Putin to go into Ukraine, although he would have never done it if I was president, even if he did have the energy resources, because, when it went up to $100 a barrel, he makes a fortune in the war. He'll be the only guy to ever make a fortune in the war. And Biden's the one complaining, but he's the one that drove the energy prices up. So he caused the war with his stupidity, with his absolute... Just the most absolute, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's grossly incompetent. He talks about the war, but he's driving the energy prices up, and Putin's whole economy is in energy. And so at $100 a barrel, no matter what he spends on the war, that's the way it is. But Putin would have never done it. I met with him many times. Ukraine was the apple of his eye. But I said, Vladimir, don't do it. Don't do it. If you do it, this is what's going to happen. Someday I'll tell you what I said. He said, no way. I said, way. He said, no way you'll do that. I said, I will. I said, I will. I'm going to do it. And he didn't believe me. But he believed me 10%. And that's all you needed. That was it. Same thing with President Xi. Don't go into Taiwan. He believed me 10% too. That was enough. But, it's, what's happened is so bad. I think a lot of it started with Afghanistan. That was the most incompetent withdrawal in history. They withdrew, think of it, they withdrew the military first. You take your citizens out first, you take the people you need out first, then you get your $85 billion worth of equipment and you get it out. Brand new military equipment. If you look at it, Afghanistan now is, I think, the number 2 merchant in the world for selling military equipment. They're selling the stuff we get, brand new, gorgeous stuff. I rebuilt the entire military. They gave $85 billion of it away. The good news is we have plenty of others, although we're very low on ammunition. We're low because we're giving so much. It's very, very bad. We are closer to World War III than we've ever been. And I'm the only one that will prevent World War III. I'm telling you, we are closer to World War III. And that won't be a war with army tanks going back and forth, sir. That will be a war with weaponry, the likes of which the world has never seen before. I know it. I know it better than anybody. And these are weapons. We'll need God. Sure, God. No, thank you very much. That's beautiful. He said, God gave me to you. How nice is that? Oh, I like this man. Wow. Well, I hope that's right. Oh, great. I hope you're right about that. That's a great honor to even say it. Under the Trump administration, patriotic protectionism. We need protection. Some people say, oh, it's such a terrible way. It's not a terrible. Nationalism is not a bad way either. I'm nationalistic. I think most of the people here. But if you say that to the radical left lunatics, they'll say, oh, that's terrible, conspiracy. But it'll be the American way, and the American way of life again used to be that way. It's time for a rebirth of loyalty to our country. We need loyalty to our country. To protect American workers and families, I will impose an across-the-board tariff on foreign-made goods that come into our country. If they're going to come into our country, and if they're going to pillage, in many ways, our country, or do a good job, they have to pay for the right to come into our country. Because right now they're destroying our country on trade. We have trade imbalances at levels that nobody's ever seen. And I was all set to do it, and then we had the COVID situation, and we had other problems. But we're going to do it, and we're doing it, and we made incredible trade deals. We did so much. I will pass what's called the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. That means that if China or any other country makes us pay a 100 or 200% tariff, which in many cases they do, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff of 100 or 200%. We don't do that. We've done it on individual cases where I was able to get it done, but we're going to do it for everybody when they charge us. A lot of countries, not only China, but you have a lot of countries, they'll sell a motorbike, they'll put a tariff on Harley Davidsons going into India of 150%, and they sell what's called Indian motorbikes, lesser level, and we put a tariff on them of nothing. But we did a big thing in my administration, and you know what they want? They want
Harley-Davidson or whoever to go to India and build a plant. That way they say you have no jobs. Well, we'll lose all those jobs. So we're gonna hit that very hard. Everybody, we're gonna hit them very hard. Reciprocal trade. They put it on us, we put it on them. One of two things is gonna happen. We'll collect a lot of money, and that's fine, and so will they. It's simple. You don't have an accounting problem. And as tariffs go on foreign countries, they go up, taxes go on American workers and small businesses and middle-class families will come way down as we do this, because all of this money that will be taken in, all of these jobs that will be taken in. You know, when you do that, you're going to be opening up plants here and all over the United States. And that's what China did. They still do. Didn't work as well with us, because I put a very big tax on their cars, tremendous tariff, 50%, because everybody was moving to China to build their plants. And then they'd sell back into the U.S. And we wouldn't even charge them. So we changed it around a lot, but now we're going to finish it with I call it the Big Daddy, reciprocal trade. I will revoke China's most favored nations. So they're the favored nations. That means they get the because they see developing nation. You know what? You look at some of our cities and everything else, we're a developing nation too. Our cities are more developed than they are. They don't have the problems that these Democrat mayors and governors have, where they've destroyed their states and they've destroyed their cities. I will revoke China's most favored nation trade status, and we will impose stiff penalties on China and other trade abusers. We have tremendous trade abusers. I think we're so stupid to look at this guy Biden. He doesn't know where the hell he is. He can't put two sentences together. He can't get off the stage. There's a stair right there. I never understand. We always looking around. This guy is so bad. Can you imagine President? You know, the press hates when I say he's sharp. I actually called him very smart one day. Oh, he called him smart. He runs 1.4 million people with an iron fist, and they call him smart. They say, President Trump called him smart. They want me to say he's a stupid man. They've worked for so many years, they're very smart. But can you imagine when they meet this guy Biden? They see him, I go to him. They say, we don't believe it. They think it's some kind of a game that I'm playing. It's like a chess game. They don't really believe this. They say, what's going on here? It's some kind of a game being played. It can't be possible. Can't talk. That's a big for him. What happened today, 1 minute and 15 seconds. This is one of the most, it wasn't Winston Churchill, let's put it that way. We've done so much for so many. This was not Winston Churchill. He was talking about the Spitfire pilots. You know that? The Spitfires. The German planes, which were bigger, better, stronger, but the Spitfires were unbelievable. Morocco, whatever. They couldn't fight with them. So he said, never have so few done so much for so many. Biden doesn't talk that way. Biden doesn't talk that way. What a disgrace. What's happened to our country with inflation. All these things wouldn't have happened if the election weren't rigged. If the election weren't rigged, you wouldn't have Ukraine. You wouldn't have had any of it. You wouldn't have any of it. It's so sad. It's so sad what they've done. And there's plenty of evidence. It's all there, Not here, we don't worry about Iowa, but you take a look at those swing states, what they did in those swing states is a disaster, is a disgrace. Under Cookie Joe, we now have a exploding trade deficit in agriculture. Did you know that? Meaning we are now importing more farm product than we're exporting. It's not even believable, right? Are you a farmer? That's a great. I'm not a farmer. That is very good. Wow. Would you like to run for politics someday, huh? He's got to give you an endorsement. Within hours of my inauguration, I will cancel every music I promise. As your president, I ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made by our country, and replaced it with a brand new USMCA. That's Mexico, Canada. The best trade deal they say ever made in our country. In fact, so good, it's so good. They want to cancel it. They're trying to get a deal with the United States to cancel it. You got to get off by decades with NAFTA. Make a deal that it is a one-sided deal, I will tell you why. Because we negotiated, I negotiated it. And it's great, you've been ripped off by, I'll tell you, Canada was very tough to deal with, Canada was tougher to deal with than China. Nobody would believe that. And I said to him, listen, if you don't make this deal, then I'm not going to let you sell cars into the United States. Oh, well, we'd love to make the deal if you'd like to. They were tough. In total, I think as they gave me a briefing on some of these bad deals with South Korea, with Japan, with a lot of different countries, I used to sit back, Brazil, I'd say, who the hell is this? Almost like, some of them, I'd go back to the heads of the country and say, you trade deal with well, I've been waiting for you to come and tell us that. Nobody ever went there. I go forward for Iowa, president in history, and issued an E-15. You remember when I did this? That E-15 would be made available all year round. Everyone said, oh, you can't do that. Only 8 months. No, I gave it all year round. And even the equipment, the equipment, which they wanted to use the older equipment because it was tens of millions of dollars to change it. I said, what's the difference? He said, the older equipment is better. I had a real expert. He said, the older equipment's stronger, better. And I said, let's leave it then. Let's leave it. We want jobs. Ron DeSanctimonious is a raging opponent of Iowa ethanol. He spent his entire time in Congress angrily railing against ethanol and fighting to terminate the renewable fuel standard. That's always a hard work to do. Now he's on his way to changing his view. But they don't fight him, please don't fight him. Even though he was so much disloyal, even though he did that, but I said, no, you have to fight. You have to fight for them. And when people are disloyal, when you get somebody elected and then they go and announce that they're essentially going to run, he's a Republican, sir. I said, I don't care. I couldn't care less. And we hit him very hard. He's actually heading south pretty soon, I think. And you have some other people, and I've heard, I don't want to speak out of turn, my people, Matt, my geniuses just told me about, my geniuses have a predictive rate. My prediction rate is much better. They say they're willing to cancel all the debates after Miami, that's what I hear. Makes sense. When you're 62 points, I'm going against the guy named, I call him Ada Hutchinson. Nasty guy, he's at 0. Chris Christie's at 2 points. Sloppy Chris. Another one's at 1, 2, they're averaging like 3. And I'm almost at 7. I'm up by 60 points, more than 60 points. Why do you debate? That's right, you want to elect a smart president, not a stupid president, right? And you know what I did last debate? I went and I had a big meeting in Michigan with the United Auto Workers of America and others. I told them, I said, you guys are working on your hourly wage. That's not your problem. Your problem is the electric vehicle craziness that Biden is putting on everybody. Not one car will be made in America within 2 years. And you got to be careful because and today I read, their new platform is, they don't care about anything. They just don't want that to happen. And I want you if I feel like driving for cross country, I don't want to stop 37 times. I don't want to stop 37 times. It's crazy. Now the workers, I see that. But I went there because their leadership, they should probably want it. They say the boys should for the last 290 years, about 200 years prior to cars coming out and endorse. No, they endorse, it's automatic. It's like you endorse the Democrat. But I said, how can they endorse? I told these to the workers, because they have to be 95%. Why should... I don't know the gentleman. They've lost 40% of their car industry. Not for me, by the way. They were coming back. But over the last 20 years, Mexico took 30% of our car industry away. Why would they not speak? The Democrats allowed this to happen. But they're in bed with them. You know, they imagine what would happen. I think the auto workers don't care because I'm explaining to them. People watching the television. If you work yourself, you're not going to have an industry because they're doing these people out. We will double up our economy. We're going to double up because we're tariff cars they're looking to compete with us. Just like we said, we want 28,000 soldiers. We're going to put tariffs on the cars that you saw. I mean, they saw 30% growth of our car industry, of our car industry over a couple of decades. Biden's insane. Electric vehicle mandates will totally decimate gas-powered cars. And if it happens, Iowa ethanol is dead. You know, you're not going to be needing ethanol. You're not going to be needing ethanol. And you're going to never take a trip with more than 12 minutes from your house. It's not going to... You know what else are going to die? Hotels are going to die. But the greatest business there is, in fact, I may not run for president. I'm not going into this business. No, I know, I'm sorry. You know what the business is? I tell you what, you just go... all right, so if you see me drop out, that should be the only reason I drop out, right? Ethanol crushing, electric vehicle mandates. One day, it'll be one day. And you know, I want you to have a car. And I want you to have a combination, hybrid. And I want you to do all those things. And you can't have where the truck carries a load. That load's going to be a battery. And it doesn't work well. And I was telling the other girl, we just spoke in German. I'm only counting. We just spoke. But I just spoke, and I told them, I said, you know, the trucks, you take a Peterbilt or one of the trucks, they can go up to 2,000 miles on a like a battery, which has to be about 9 times larger. And a truck will go 300 miles. So one goes 2,000 miles, one goes 300 miles. What kind of stuff is that? To stop 6 cars as opposed to none? So, and they're forcing trucks to now go all electric. You talk about a supply chain problem. Wait till you see this sucker. And you know what? I can say that 100 different times. You can go in and say it to the people in the White House. They'll say, thank you very much. I know what they're thinking about. They're destroying this country. It's crazy. Well, one of the biggest truckers in the world. They got many, hundreds and hundreds of big, beautiful, most British trucks. He said, you know, all my life, every year we buy some trucks. Buy, and I have now just about the biggest company, I guess. He said, every year they got better. They got better. They got stronger. They got more powerful. They got more powerful. Were more beautiful. They just got better and better. If this happens, we will be going back 60 years if this happens. There's nothing they can do about it. Nothing they can do about it. I said, have you spoken to the White House? They couldn't care less. That's why they're doing all the things in California with the California deal. If California on any summer afternoon is in a blackout, they're a total blackout. Now they want to add millions of cars to the grid. Yeah, it's It's just crazy. It doesn't work. It's all about something. No, I think it's all about destroying our country, actually, because nobody can figure. That's the only thing I can't figure out. Why do they want to have open borders with millions of people pouring in? People coming from jails, prisons, people coming from mental institutions and insane asylums, you know? My people say, please, sir, don't mention the words insane asylum. Why? Because that's a vicious thing. I said, that's Silence of the Lamb. You know what that is? Has anybody seen Silence of the Lamb? Because he said on television, on one of the, I love Donald Trump, so I love him. I love him. He said that a long time ago. Once he said that, he was in my I was in his kid. I don't care if he was the worst actor. I'd say he was great to me. And, no, he was great. I'd say he was incredible. But that's the insane asylum stuff. It's a step beyond. But mental institutions, insane asylums, jails, prisons, and terrorists, they're pouring into our country. South America, and it's not South America, it's all over Africa. They're allowing all of their prisoners, and they're transporting them into the United States. We're like a dumping ground, and they're taking them from 129 countries, we think. They don't have any idea, you know, New Yorkers, they have no idea what's happening. I had the greatest guys. I had the safest border in the history of our country, and now we have the unsafest border in the history of the world, because there's never been a country like this. But it's a horrible thing that's happening and very dangerous. And you know, these people are very aggressive people. They have drugs. There are a lot of things happening. And they're very, very aggressive. I heard a woman talking, a great woman, she lost her son in New York. And she's become somewhat of a spokesman, running for Congress now. Very good person. And she said, they're infiltrating the neighborhood. They're so aggressive. They're so strong, they're so vicious, they're so loud, and they take drugs. Other than that, they're wonderful people, I think. No, this country, I mean, our country no country can sustain this. Under a Trump administration, gasoline-fired engines will be allowed, but child sexual mutilation will not be allowed. Crazy. Whoever thought we'd be saying that? Who thought that you'd have some guy up here 10 years ago? Who would think you'd have somebody up saying, we will not allow child sexual mutilation? This is the craziest thing. They don't even tell you about what they're going to do to your kids. This is really communism, fascism. She's a Marxist. These are sick people. But who would think that? Who would think that they would say, one of the favorite phrases, I will not allow men to play in women's sports. Who would think that? Who would think it? Men. Weightlifter, right? That lifted 150 pounds more than for 20 years is broken by like 2 big wars or something. No, it's just crazy what's going on. It's no wonder that the far left lunatics are getting desperate to stop our movement because they know this is the movement they can't beat. They'll stop at any means, use law enforcement. They actually now have to revert to law enforcement. As you know, crooked Joe Biden and his radical left thugs have weaponized law enforcement to arrest their leading political opponent, me. Thank you all very much. This is high-level election interference, and it's happening for a single reason, because I'm the only candidate that they do not want to run against. I'm the only one that shows, it's hard to believe that, because frankly, the Republican candidates, I could take almost all of them. I mean, some of them you can really have, but almost all of them are better than Biden. I'm the only one that's way above Biden. We beat him. Washington Post said that they came out and laughed it up. They actually said 9 they had to change it to 10, and then they actually had to change it. It's the only time, so they spend $1 million on this big stuff. Washington Post, ABC is one of the worst, by the way, I gotta tell you, one of the nastiest. They always come up with stuff, they're very nasty people. They pretend like they're nice and then they hit you with zingers all the time. But ABC is bad news. ABC fake news, I call it. It's all fake news. Face the Nation. You watch Face the Nation. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump on Face the Nation. And now go, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump on Deface the Nation. And the press has been changed now. I had an interview with Kristen Welker. She was so nice at first. She started interviewing me, but she got it. She was good. In a Marquette poll, Biden by 24 points. I didn't hear that one. 24 points. 24 points on borders, 23 points on inflation, and 19 points on creating jobs, and 34 points on the border. That's a lot. Because remember, the Democrats start off with like 40. You know, people said, a friend of mine said, I said, yeah, I'm up 10 or 11 points. And in some cases I'm up 2 or 3, but we're up. And he's a very smart guy. Said, how can you only be up 2 points on that night? And because they started we won't say, there are certain groups that vote for. By the way, a lot of groups, if you look at African American, they're at my level higher than anybody's ever had before. Hispanic American, we are going to probably win Hispanic American. By the way, if that happens, this election is over. The biggest thing on the election, they're going to try like hell to cheat. The single biggest thing on the election is we got to swamp them. Because, you know, there's a level at which, as bad as they are, they're crooked as you can be, but there's a level at which they can't win. We got to win and we got to swamp them. If we swamp them, we don't have to worry about it. But we also have a lot of good lawyers and a lot of other people, but because they use it. But if you swamp them, that solves problems. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024. Not going to allow it. Marxist, communist, and fascist indict me. I consider it a great badge of honor. Thank you very much. I am being indicted. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. It's always a little tough. I call Ivanka. Hello, Ivanka. Anybody ever heard of Ivanka? He's a nice face. Hello, Ivanka. Listen, your dad is going to be indicted today at 6 o'clock. I just didn't want to see it on the news. I just watched it. I'd go back and say, wait for a thing. He calls her first lady. What kind of a relationship with her? But she's great. She's so popular. People love her. Beauty the star. You're not allowed to talk about beauty, so let's play it. You say beauty, you immediately lose the election. But the star, beauty, the whole package. But they love it. I say, darling, today at 5 o'clock I had a problem. And she actually said, again? That's pretty cool, right? Again? How many times? Now I'm the only one that goes up in the polls every time I get indicted. You know, Alphonse Capone. Did anybody ever hear of Al Capone, the great gangster? He would kill you if he didn't like you at dinner. He would just, you know, you'd be dead. And he only got indicted once. Okay? I've been indicted 4 times. I think I have a record for most of them. Considering I never had a problem in my whole life, it's like a record. Most indictments within a 15-minute period. Phony deals. How about the one in Georgia? How about that phony one? New York. She values Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, and she convinces the judge. So you don't know what Mar-a-Lago is, but you sort of do. So some people say it's worth 100 times that number. She values it at $18 million. And I said, there's something wrong here. And everybody said that. And it's probably billion. So it could be 100 times over. These are crooked people. This is election defense. She's a very dishonest fool. And she's a judge who's a radical left judge. And, you know, and I don't get a jury. So even if I had a tough jury, I'd win. I'm not allowed to have a jury. Nothing to do with checking the box. What that is. Oh, it's a lawyer. Now, you can't check a box. There's no box. They did it under the Consumer Fraud Act. Can you believe it? Where I did everything right. Built this great company. And now they find out that the company is worth much more than the financial statement. And they found out they had what's called a disclaimer clause, a little complicated, but not too complicated. There was no fraud. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. And they've been totally discredited. And it's a disgrace that a thing like that can go on. It's a never forget our enemies want to stop us because we are the only ones who can stop them. We're the only ones. And if we don't win this election, our country is finished. I hate to tell you. They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. I will not let it happen. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, this is so true. They're not after me, they're after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way. I'm standing in their way. Thank you. A lot of fun. It's a lot of fun up here, standing in their way. But this is not just a campaign. This is a movement. There's never been anything like this in history. You know, I tell about Pat Buchanan. He was a good guy, but he came in, I believe, and he made a life because he did so much better than anyone. He made a life out of coming in. We came in first in every state. Think of it. We came in first in every state. And the islands. And the islands count too. And it's an incredible thing. The level of enthusiasm now blows 16 and blows 20 away. Because now you're fighting for your lives. You know, you're really fighting for your lives in a true sense. Together we created the most secure border in human history and built nearly 500 miles of border. We actually built 561 as I understand it. It's a lot. How about sloppy Chris Christie? So she only built 50 miles of border wall. Because if there's a board laying on the ground from 50 years ago that's rotted, and we put up this gorgeous brand new thing, we say, that's a renovation. And there are boards all over the place, you know, just rotting in the sand. But what a loser he is, by the way. He suffers from Trump derangement syndrome, worse, I think maybe worse than any Democrat. What do you think of the economy? I don't like Donald Trump. Trump derangement syndrome, actually. We completely finished it. It would have gone up within 2 weeks. It was all there. You see it there. And then I think they're selling it now for 5 cents on the dollar. 5 cents. It's the very special steel, concrete, and so what I'm good at it. So that's what I wanted. And this is nice to be steel. I'm happy to be able to see and everything else. I understood. And I gave exactly what they want. Even the panel on top is called an anti-climb panel. You know, just that I don't like it architecture. You know, we had mountain climbers and we had drug dealers. We had guys that can 60, 70 people in the back and climb up there. Are you with him? How old are you? How old are you? So, but they had guys, and they climb up a wall with drugs in their back, and we had all the best guys. Half of them came out of prison. Come on with us. We want to, and they couldn't get by the anti-climb panel. So, you know, it's very important. I just want to let you know why, because I loved it with that panel. That really is very effective. Anti-climb panel. So we did. We built the wall at the rate of 1 mile every 24 hours, and we would have had the whole thing built. I said I was going to build 400 miles. We built 561 miles, and we would have had another 200. I added 200 at the end. Rotting in the sand, and everything I just said I want to sell them. But then the other day, Biden goes out, and you know, if he would have gone to the beach and just left everything alone, if he left our oil alone, you know, these are all concerns. He's got to concern that this is very good. History self-help. This is a good look for him to be at a beach here. 2 o'clock on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I don't you know, it works a little bit like I worked hard. But you know, we want to work. Also, when you can't get your feet out of the sand, you know, those chairs are a miracle because they're fairly large and you can lift them like this, right? And he could down and lift them. Not a good luck. But if he would have gone to the beach and now the fake news is actually trying to give British credit for nothing they will do. 20 miles. He'll get more credit if he ever gets it done with the gal. Did you see the wall? It's like a horrible, terrible looking wall. I think I could climb over the wall that they're looking to build. Would a little help. I think I could climb over. Terrible. It's 20 miles long. If he gets it done, they'll say, he did a better job than Trump. Because that's the way it is. Because the fake news are a big part. There's a lot of people back there. A lot of cameras. I see those lights going. You know, anytime I'm ready to talk about like CNN, they know it. They've gotten very good at this. I watch that red light go off like in 2 seconds. The light goes off. But they're using funds, and he's saying that he was legally required to spend. He had to do what he had to do. He had no choice. He had to do. But all the other things he didn't have to do where he destroyed our country. So it's just one of those things he's doing it, he said, because he's afraid of being impeached. I said, what's so bad about impeachment? I got impeached twice, and my poll numbers went up. The difference is he should be impeached. He's bad. He's bad. I got impeached over a phone call, right? I got impeached over a phone call, which turned out to be perfect. It was perfect. I called it. I called how good everything was. But it was mostly a phone call to congratulate a brand new president at that point, Zelensky, this guy, to congratulate him on winning. He said, I got impeached for that. And here's a guy steals tens of millions of dollars and they don't impeach him. But let's see what happens. If you want a president who leaves $500 million worth of raw materials to rust on the desert floor, while illegal aliens feed over them, they walk right over those panels. They're laying on the floor, rotting and rusting. If you want that in your communities, then you should immediately get up and vote for crooked Joe Biden. Does anybody want to vote for Biden in this audience? I'm glad you said that. It would be probably dangerous. We could have some danger. Somebody, well, I'd like to. You want a president who will seal the border, stop the invasion, and reclaim our sovereignty on day one, that you must vote for President Donald J. Trump. Right? And you know, if you think about it, crooked Joe Biden has 3 major problems, and they begin with inflation, immigration, and incompetence. You know. I sort of like that line. And when I said Mexico will pay for the wall, they did. They supplied us with 28,000 soldiers at order free of charge. You ever notice there was no legal mechanism? How do you get somebody to give back to build the wall? But I said to the president, I said, you're going to give us 28,000 soldiers. No, I won't do that. And they said, we have to, sorry, otherwise we're going to have to do something. No, we will not do that. I said, one other thing you have to do is you have to give us a policy, stay in Mexico. In other words, nobody can come in. They have to stay in Tijuana. Lovely city. They have to stay in Tijuana. Hundreds of thousands of people. No, we will not do that. The other thing you have to do is catch and release. I want to release them to catch and release them. We release them in America. I want to catch and release them in Mexico. I want to drop them in. No. So send over a stop negotiator, of course. We got with the State Department. He's maybe heard of this guy, with a couple of things. But with a wonderful woman at the State Department. I said, I want them to give us 28,000 soldiers. I want to get rid of catch and release. I want them to release them. And I want to stay in Mexico and other things, right? And I want other things. She said, very good woman. She said, sir, I can ask you to do things for 20,000. We will not do that. So the head guy comes in, tough guy. And he just 28,000 soldiers. I want all of these things, and by the way, I have another thing for all this. No, you will not do that. You want to be like, am I doing it for you? I said, you will do that. trading. But they talk about coming to the United States with tariffs put on of 25%. And every other item coming into the United States will have tax put on of 25%. Anything coming into the United States, which is hundreds of billions of dollars, will have a tax of 25% starting on number 1 of the second quarter. Here's the document, and I signed it before your very eyes. He said, Mr. President, may I have 5 minutes? I'll come back and make a call. And he make a call to the president, who I have a lot of respect for, by the way, of Mexico. He's a friend of mine. He's great. He's a socialist. Can't have everything, but he's good. No, he's great. And he's popular. He's a very good guy. But he comes back, Sir, I am pleased to inform you that we would love to give you $29. We would love to take MSP. It would be a great honor to have 30,000 soldiers guard your border. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Because the money we're talking about is like 10 times. So with all those idiots to say Trump didn't get anything for the wall, let them know we got 28,000 soldiers free of charge, plus plenty of other things. We appointed over 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court judges. And I stood proudly with our friend and ally, the state of Israel. And I will do it again. You heard about today. Hamas terrorist invasion. And when you talk
WBCQ, Monticello, Maine, USA.
A terror invasion of Israeli territory and the murder of Israeli soldiers and citizens is an act of savagery that must be and will be crushed and avenged, has to be crushed. Israel's at war and the United States has to support Israel. We have to support Israel. There's been no better president for Israel than me. And nobody loves Israel more than the evangelical Christians all over today. This war happened for 2 reasons. The United States giving Iran $6 billion. How about that deal? We get 5 terrorists, they get 5 terrorists, or we get 5 prisoners, they get 5 prisoners. Call them whatever you want. 5 and 5, okay. I'm sure it wasn't a good deal. Because like in the case of Russia, one of the people they got back was the leading arms dealer in the history of the world. Okay? Leading arms dealer in the history of the world. He's going out now purchasing arms for Russia. Very good trade they made. I'm sure our trade was likewise. But they added one little caveat. Plus we get for them $6 billion. So we get 5. And they get 5. Sounds good. And they also get $6 billion. And our country's perceived weakness and an incompetent and corrupt leader, Joe Biden, who's laughed at all over the world. He's laughed at all over the world. I can't believe this is happening. President Xi, who is so smart, so many of these people, they look, they have a meeting, and they say, this can't be happening. The guy doesn't have a clue. And I predicted the war. A lot of newspapers, thank you very much. I predicted war on Israel immediately after it was announced that Joe Biden gave the $6 billion to Iran. They got so much money. But this time, Israel and the United States need a very strong partnership and leadership. They got to have strong leaders. You're not strong leaders, it doesn't matter how many army tanks you have. In addition to the billions of dollars given to Hamas, top funder Iran, Joe Biden restored hundreds of millions of dollars to corrupt Palestinian entities. He gave them hundreds of millions of dollars. Many people didn't even know it. Remember what he did? He betrayed Israel. He betrayed our country. As president, I will once again stand for them. And we will cut off the money to Palestinian terrorists. And Biden and Obama was wonderful here because they begged him. Bibi Netanyahu came here, begged Obama, begged him, please sir. I mean, he knew what the way he was talking was the craziest thing he was begging him. Don't do the Iranian approval. If I ended it, with our administration, we would have had a deal with Iran already. It would have been a good sure they wouldn't have had a nuclear weapon. Now they're 3 months away from having a nuclear weapon. And once they have a nuclear weapon, the conversations become much more difficult. This guy, this poor, sad sack of a president that we have, the leaders in the United States, I've made them and he picks the wrong people at the wrong time. He says the wrong thing at the wrong time. He says anything at all. He's not respected at all. It's a disgrace. They spend all their money with the DOJ on storing up arms. That's what they do. That's all they're good at. You are profound working, and I can say this, if I'm elected, I'm the only one that can say it. You will never have World War III. You will not have World War III. Less than 4 years ago, we had the historic Abraham Accords, which everyone said, when will you get to know more? It was beautiful. I think we should have made it. I said, I'm not going to get one. They did one to Obama when he got elected. 2 weeks later, they got elected. He didn't. He didn't do anything. He didn't do much after that either. Yeah, you think of it. So, just a short time ago, we did some historic Abraham Accords, and today we have the exact opposite. A major attack on Israel. What a difference the president makes, right? What a difference the president makes. As president, I also take my promise to recognize the eternal capital in the American Embassy in Jerusalem. I actually got a book. What Constitution? For $500,000, you know that's. We also recognize Israeli sovereignty on the Golan. They've been working on for 58 years. Never get a day about that. The United States and we were in a position to make a deal. We can do it. These guys didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. We saved America once before, and I am the only candidate in this race that will save America once again. We're going to save America. Because we have no choice. We have no choice. So here's just some of what we'll do when we become, all of us together, because this is a we effort. We become the 47th President of the United States of America. We'll totally stop the weaponization of our FBI and the very corrupt DOJ from the ground up. In the meantime, I'll keep fighting him off. On my first day back in the White House, I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden administration and begin the largest deportation operation in American history. No country can sustain what they're putting us through. And we'll start with the bad ones. And you know who knows the bad ones? Our police forces, our local police forces. They know them all, and they know them by name. We'll also use Title 42 to end the child trafficking crisis by returning all trafficked children to their families in their home countries, and we'll do that immediately. Sarah, terrible operation. We'll sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and any other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. As I said a little while ago, I will keep men out of women's sports. We will do that. Doesn't that sound like a very easy one? I can't even believe they give me this applause. I will keep men out of women. As I said to you, it's easy to be a politician now. You think so just as I did for 4 years, I will fully uphold the Second Amendment. We will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections, totally secure. Our goal will be one-day voting with paper ballots and voter IDs, right? One day voting, not 48 days, not 62 days. The thousands of ballots lying all over the floors. Give me some more ballots. Where are they? They're on the floor over in the corner. They didn't tractor, they scoop them up and they drop the whole thing. But until then, Republicans must compete and we must win. So in conclusion, this is what we must do to restore our country to greatness. The USA is a mess. Our economy is broke. Our inflation is out of control. China, Russia, North Korea have formed together as a military coalition. Our currency is crashing. The world standard, which will be the single greatest defeat that we've had in over 200 years. That will be a disaster. And it's happening. But it won't happen with me, not even a chance. Just like Russia would never have invaded Ukraine and China would not be even having a thought about invading Taiwan, not even a thought. And we would have left Afghanistan with dignity and strength. I'm the one that got it down to 500 people after 21 years. And we would have kept fighting. The biggest military base, air force in the world, the biggest runways, most powerful runways in the world, 20,000 feet long, 8 feet thick, and carry anything. But not because of that thing. China, because that's where now wins with China makes its nuclear weapons. And you know who's occupying Bagram right now in China? We took it over, we built it for billions of dollars 4 years ago. And it's the greatest embarrassment in the history of our country. What happened in Afghanistan? Do you know that I spoke to the leader of Taliban? And I said to her, that's war. You come back, you're not going to kill him any longer. Go up that's one crazy whenever I call him. To show you that he was doing this best, that's what I said to him. That's the thing. Remember that? He killed 4 people. Just before leaving. That's what I said to him. He's doing some stuff. So here's what they did. Then I said, I'm doing you've never been in country. I don't know how that's for. But why do you send me a picture of my home? And then you have to ask other people that question. Nobody's ever been in our country. From that moment on, one soldier, 18 months now, one soldier in Afghanistan, not one soldier was hit or shot at. Nobody was shot at. Nobody was hurt. Then we had a rigged election. I got out. This totally incompetent person took over. And they left from the owner for from Bagram. We had miles and miles of territory around it. So they said they moved from the people were crazy. They should have left the Bagram. They should have everything. They should have left this city. We were so strong. The Taliban fear of the F-16. Those F-16s would come rolling over their heads and they just said, get me the hell out of here. And now they're in those F-16s. They took them. This person